Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, we get to talk about Michigan State, and that is a rivalry that I think it's underappreciated in a very specific way because I, for years, have celebrated Ole Miss, Mississippi State as the stupidest rivalry in all of sports. And the Egg Bowl is absolutely just weapons grade stupidity in so many ways. We have not seen anyone mimicking a dog peeing and causing their team to lose as a result of that. But I'm watching this game on Saturday night and just watching these two teams just bludgeon each other in the head and lower each other's IQs, just play by play, down by down, and just thinking, what if instead of the Ball Bunyan Trophy game, we called it like the Northern Egg Bowl game or the Cold Weather Egg Bowl game or maybe the Edsel Bowl? I don't know, because that was kind of a piece of crap too, but, and Michigan themed. So it's, I feel like that rivalry doesn't get, like they were talking on the broadcast about Jonathan Smith not appreciating how like bitter and angry it is. I think it doesn't get enough credit for how stupid it is.
Well, and it didn't used to be stupid, and maybe the Deviled Egg Bowl, except that's disrespectful to deviled eggs if we're gonna name it something. This used to be one of my top three favorite rivalry games. It's Ohio State, Michigan. It's basically Michigan Notre Dame, and then Michigan State. I only like Michigan rivals, but like since Mark D'Antonio left, or maybe the last couple of years, like we joke about Sparty no, and something's always gonna silly or dumb is gonna happen. But this is just, and I'm gonna try to say this as politely as possible. A team that it makes a lot of mistakes and does not play with the most amount of intelligence or, just stillness. Like they can't just let football happen in terms of let's just play football. No, we've got to do a little something extra too, and we've got to delay of game. We got to have a false start. Got to have a personal foul. Got to have a celebration penalty. Got to have this. Got to have that. I think they had like 12 penalties for over 100 yards in this game, and it's just tough to watch anymore. And Aiden Childs will drop back to pass Michigan State quarterback, and you don't know what's going to happen. He steps up to run, and you don't know what's going to happen, but most of the time it's not going to be very good. And so you go into this game or any game against Michigan State, and I was thinking about this today, Tom. It's like just as long as you don't do anything to hurt yourself, you're probably going to be okay. Like, those drive-through zoos where you can feed the animals? Like, as long as you're not feeding the emus and the ostriches out of your mouth or through like special goggles where, you can put the seed in your eyes, as long as you don't feed the animals that way, you're probably not going to get injured. But when you play like a Michigan State, like that's the same thing. Just whatever you do, don't feed Michigan State out of your mouth or your eyes, and you're going to be pretty good. They can't beat you unless you help them. And I promise you, they're going to let you help them beat them. So just don't do anything wayward. Don't do anything stupid. And this Michigan game plan was, we're not going to do anything stupid. Let's just pummel and move on.
Yeah, and we can talk for one more minute about Michigan State and the fact that I guess they have coaches. I don't know what they do during the week, but I mean, I assume they kept showing people on the sidelines wearing headsets, and I mean, I haven't FOIA'd the public records, but I assume they're getting paid. So I it is just a mind blowing. Just how what do you what was the why I
Yes,
don't just
right.
I what are you doing? It just it I don't even have words. I've lost the ability to form words. That is the Michigan State football experience. Okay. Now, we should not let Michigan completely off the hook, because the difference between Michigan and Michigan State was Michigan was doing some of the exact same stupid emotional stuff and just somehow not getting called for it, which, Frazier, the left tackle, had one where he's like, the whistle's blown, the play's over, and he just shoves a guy over. Like, those old playground thing where you get on your hands and knees and like push someone over right in the middle of the field. Anything called? Nope, nope, nope. Our vision is based on the color green. That's it. And so we only see that thing. And there was one more. Well, I mean, there were a couple pass interference calls that were
Mhm.
like, did they change the rule on Tuesday and I missed it? I don't know what that was. But you can't out stupid Michigan State. Michigan tried, but the officials wouldn't let them, and Michigan State wouldn't let them. So it was just a terrible, unwatchable garbage game. Which I think Michigan fans will probably agree, because Michigan fans constantly think this is a game where Michigan State tries to grab them and drag them down to their level, and generally will succeed. Which, let me tell you, there's another game that happens Thanksgiving weekend down in the deep South that is exactly like that every single time. I'm telling you, this is the Egg Bowl, the Northern Egg Bowl. One more thing, Tony, before we actually get into the meat of the show, because I feel like this game was a lot of confirming our priors, so I don't know how much there is to talk about. I'm not advocating this. I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm just saying I understand. I'm sure, without even looking, that there's a thread on the Red Cedar message board right now with like old Facebook pictures of these officials, like to see if any of them were like grew up Michigan fans or went to Michigan or anything like that. That was a uniquely poorly officiated game, and it was poorly officiated in both directions. But the offside call that completely changed the game. I mean, you got to be real sure to throw that flag. And I don't think he was offside, and the rules official guy didn't think he was offside. It was like that completely changed the game. And, there were, the uncalled pass interference, whatever. But just that in and of itself was a completely game changing call. Now, to go back to Michigan State being just the dumbest dummies, Jonathan Smith going for 2 after the touchdown for no reason whatsoever, then calls them to be down 11 instead of 10. So then when they got the ball in Michigan State in Michigan territory, they went for it on 4th and 3 instead of just kicking what would have been a makeable field goal. So then you didn't get it, and so you're down 11 instead of being down 7. And then later that completely changes the rest of the game. So even setting aside the penalty that probably changed the game, Michigan State was like, well, I mean, we don't want anyone to blame the officials, so we're just going to shoot our feet ourselves. So yes, so that's my I kept watching this game and just getting like more angry for everyone involved. Like, why are we doing this? This is just so stupid.
I feel like let's just say this: no matter the amount of referee incompetence, Michigan State was always going to find a way to lose this game.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, I want to be super clear.
Yes.
I'm just saying that this was a game where no one in the stadium did their job at better than a C+ level. Like, I bet the hot dogs were like cold, the popcorn was burned. Like, I don't think anyone in the stadium did their job particularly well on Jimmy Rolder. Jimmy Rolder's it. That's it. Sorry, I want to let's give him his flowers in a minute. But yeah, that's it. Everyone else, like. Ohio State grades everyone out, and if you grade out at 80% or better, you're graded out as a champion. The Champions Dinner for Michigan should be like one guy. It's like, it's the Jimmy Rolder dinner this week. Everyone else like, it's fine.
Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall.
Yeah, Justice Haynes. Yeah.
But I want to back to the refs, and again, no amount of bad calls we're gonna or correct calls we're gonna keep Michigan State from finding a way to lose this. But the 2 missed PIs were significant.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was like at midfield. The offsides that you're talking about, this was in the 3rd quarter, and I'm not sure if everybody saw it. The Michigan State blitzer timed it perfectly and forced a fumble at midfield on Bryce Underwood, and it was 10-7 Michigan at that point. So, like, it's easy to think, boy, that's a big-time momentum swing. And then it gets... The flag shows up in the screen, pops up in the air, like as you see it, flag pops up in the air as Underwood is being taken down. So it's like, is this a very tall throw or is this a very late throw? But it gets the fumble, Michigan State recovers, it gets overturned. And about 2 or 3 plays later, Michigan scores to make it 17-7. And it's like, well, that's just about ball game. And so that was a huge missed call. And those 3 calls were rough, but yeah, like the quarterback play, the coaching coaching decisions, nothing was ever done to maximize Michigan State's possibilities or field position or anything like that. So Michigan State lost this game on their own. It's just they got zero help and quite the opposite from the refs on a few of those calls. But okay, now do we want to start talking about the game? I will say this. 2 weeks in a row.
I did forget to mention on the opening kickoff of the second half, history's most obvious uncalled block in the back happens. Like they're gonna put this as teach tape where this is what a block in the back is. Like a guy gets shoved, and he gets shoved so hard in the back that he undercuts a Michigan player during the kickoff. It had nothing to do with the play. It was behind the play. It didn't change anything, but it was also like, well, that probably cost Michigan State like 20 yards of field position. Sure. Again, everyone failed at their job on Saturday night except for Jimmy Roll.
Yeah,
and a couple other guys.
Right. And it's so frustrating watching Michigan State because it's like, why can you not have discipline? Why can you not just be calm? It's like the hereditary meme, just be normal. And Michigan State can't be normal. And even, but to go back real quick to the refs, you talk about the Michigan guy, the 77, getting, pushing that dude down and not getting called. Michigan State, I think on their first touchdown, number 77 for Michigan State throws his arms up in celebration, but it's too emphatic and he gets unsportsmanlike. Like, what in the world are we watching here? And even stuff like that. It's like Davis and Igbinosin last year where refs are just looking to flag you. So if you do anything untoward, you're going to get it. Like Michigan State refs go in there knowing like these guys are just undisciplined as all heck. They're all over the road. So if they even cross over, flash the lights at them and let's take them down. And the guy's like, and it's like, whoa, calm down, Buster. 15 yards.
All right. Before one thing, I mean it this time. Really last thing. I'm going to read you a bio from a player on the 2023 Michigan State football team. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm going to tell you is he's no longer on the Michigan State football team. I thought about this during the game, and I thought, I wonder how different life would be on an alternate timeline where this person was still at Michigan State. Ready? Mm-hmm. Played in 4 games, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, to preserve his redshirt season. Completed 15 of 30 passes, 65.2%, for 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Compiled a total of 67 net rushing yards on 13 carries. Tony Gerdeman, can you name that former Spartan?
Well, I'm going to say, is it possibly Sam Leavitt?
It sure is. That was one of those things that I'm watching Aiden Childs just stumble over his feet, everything around him, just step on every rake him around. And it was like Jonathan Smith doomed himself the moment he showed up at Michigan State and said, I got a guy. This guy you go play for Kenny Dillingham. It'll be fine. I got a guy. The funny thing, Tony, is do you know where Sam Leavitt is from?
I do not.
He is from the great state of Oregon. So this is someone who Jonathan Smith should have been not only familiar with his work from college, but also from high school. And it's like, no. I got a guy. It'll be fine. And then you wonder why Jonathan Smith looks like the human embodiment of ennui on the sideline. It just, every time they showed him on the sideline in the second half, it looked like he was right on the verge of crying. And it's like, yeah, man. Oh, I get it. Like, if you could build a time machine and go back in time to 2023 and be like, no, keep this guy. I know he only played a little. You're going to want to keep him around. How different would life look if he was still in green and white?
I'm just looking at Sam Leavitt's 24/7 page. Michigan State offer, Washington State offer, Arizona offer, Florida State offer, Washington offer, Oregon State, no offer. He just didn't like the guy. Like, I just don't think this guy can play.
I mean, the bar for boy, even for a Michigan State coach, you're making some poor choices. That bar is pretty high, but that was a sequence of poor choices by Jonathan Smith. I will say that.
I will say Michigan, as we start to talk about the game, maybe a little bit, but again, not too much.
Already? So soon?
Yeah. I thought Michigan State did a good job of attacking Bryce Underwood and kept him relatively uncomfortable throughout most of this game. And he was 8 of 17 passing for 86 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. ran the ball 5 times for 26 yards. But they absolutely didn't need to throw the ball in this one because they rushed for 276 yards on 49 attempts, 5.6 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Mentioned Justice Haynes, 152 yards rushing, long of 28, so he was just churning. He had like a 24-yarder and another like 10 or so yarder in there. Jordan Marshall, 110 yards, finally busted out with a 56-yarder. So this one was just, Michigan spent most of the game just putting Michigan State to sleep, and then sometimes Michigan State would, just jump up out of their crib because they drink Mountain Dew like it's milk or Faygo or whatever, Jolt Cola, and then they suddenly spaz back out. But this, they did a good job against Bryce Underwood. I don't think there was any concern about needing to throw anyway because the running game was so effective. But I will say, still struggling with targeting the targets to Donovan McCulley. He had 1 catch in this one and like 4 targets or 6 targets. So it's like, that's not great. 1 catch for 9 yards. And here, the last thing I'll say before I turn it over to you, Tom, I feel genuinely bad for Samaj Morgan because there are times where he makes a bad play and then he starts trending on Twitter. And if you go and look at do a Twitter search of Samaj, and it's like, it's not good. And he is not the most favorite person on that Michigan football team. And then on one of Justice Haynes' long runs, Samaj Morgan
have a tackle for that.
Samaj Morgan is in the way, and Haynes just pushes him to the ground out of the way. And I was like, Justice Haynes just lived out Michigan fans' dreams right there, just by like shoving Samaj Morgan to the ground. But you're even seeing like former players saying about like, what are they even getting out of Samaj Morgan? And boy, this is not the passing game was nothing in this game, and he contributed to that. But overall, just a dominating running game and still, searching for something passing game, but they didn't need it in this one.
No, they didn't need it, but it was also like, this wasn't the JJ McCarthy Penn State game where they just ran the ball 35 times in a row and they just decided we literally do not need to throw the football. They were trying to throw the football, and it was just, Underwood started 2 for 2, and then he goes 2 for his next 9, and the 2 completions were, one was to a wide open Andrew Marsh, and the other was a throwback screen to Justice Haynes, and then he's 0 for 7 on the other one. You mentioned the throw to the many targets to McCulley. One of them, McCulley was in. There were 3 Spartans around him, and it was like, I don't know how to grade this decision because there are 3 Spartans around him, which you'd go, well, that's obviously a terrible decision. But McCulley had the best chance at the ball of the 4 people directly there. Okay, so maybe it's not a terrible decision, but then he throws it really high, so high that McCulley has to go up and gets it, but just tips it and doesn't actually catch it, and it therefore nearly gets picked off as a result. It's like, well, I had like 4 different emotional swings during that play in terms of, was this a good decision or not? And I think I ended up landing on no, but Bryce Underwood is so fascinating because he looks like one person at home and he looks like a completely different person on the road. At home, he is a talented true freshman. And on the road, he's a talented true freshman. It's just which part of the, which syllable do you want to put the emphasis on? It's crazy. And it's Michigan State. It's not that talented a team. That's not that loud an atmosphere. Like, that stadium had to be 40% Michigan fans. That's not an incredibly hostile road atmosphere. There's nothing about that should have been like, oh boy, this is really going to be a stern test for him. And it always kind of looks the same. He just kind of gets a little out of kilter, I think, when he's not at home for whatever reason. Again, he is a talented true freshman for all of the things, both good and bad, that comes with that. He had a 13-yard touchdown run that was great. That was a really, that was a great play. That really shows what you can do. He had some throws where you were like, wow, look at that. And then he had some throws that were like, ugh, wow, look at that. And it's just, he's a true freshman. Like, the inconsistency is like, that's part of the deal. Like, and it's just, at this point, it's just a matter of how quickly does he become not a true freshman? Because And how quickly does he, sometimes his mechanical stuff is a little weird. Sometimes he's a little off platform. Sometimes his throwing angle's a little wonky. And you can sometimes make that work, but sometimes you can't. And he does it, I feel like at times when he doesn't have to. It's like, if you want to do the wild Patrick Mahomes throw, like that's great if you have to do it. And that's the difference in making the play. Sometimes he's just like off platform for no reason. And I don't know if he's just not comfortable, if he's just is like mechanically just, they haven't fixed stuff yet. I don't know. It's just, he's just very, very up and down, but he's a true freshman. So yeah, that's exactly what a true freshman quarterback looks like. He's just a talented version of it.
Yeah. And I wonder how much they wanted to ask of him going in, and then you decide to dial it back. At some point, they're going to have to ask more of him, and that's where things might get dicey on the road, but apparently not at home. I'm looking through here at some of the stuff that I want to mention and that I feel I need to mention, but then I am also reminded as I look at my notes of Michigan State receiver Nick Marsh I'm going to say this, on a 3rd and 9.
Yes, I have this written. I had this in my Sparty No section, and I was like, well, I have to stop talking about this at some point.
3rd and 9, catches the pass, picks up about 10 yards, tries to make a play.
Hang on. Is that more than 9? Just to be clear. I want to be clear. Is 10 more than 9?
More than 9 and good for the first down. But then he tries to make a play.
Is that important on 3rd down? To get more than the yardage you need? Okay.
You'd like to just get it and then be done.
Uh-huh.
However, Nick then decides he's going to try to make more of it, and
does he do that by moving forward?
No. He moves backwards a little bit, loses ground, and then is getting tackled after a gain of about 7 or 8, which would not have been good enough for the first down. Breaks free of that. Again, gets past the first down marker, and in an attempt to make a further play of this, again, gives ground and then is tackled a yard short. And this is the most Sparty No play I have ever seen in my life, where twice you pick up a first down and you're still like, no, I play for Michigan State, sir. I'm not going to allow this to happen. And then you drop back past the marker, behind the marker again for a 3rd time, and the play is dead. And fortunately, they picked up the 4th down after that, but like, what in the world?
Yeah, you will see this happen. I think one of the Ohio State running backs may have done this might have been Travion Henderson at Oregon last year. Like he had or I don't know that he had it and then gave it back, but he had a pretty clear path to just kind of fall forward for 3 on 3rd and 1 and try to bounce outside or something like that.
Boom Herron did it one year.
You'll see this from time to time. But also, like, man, understand the situation. It's just, this is the point when I was about ready to start foiling Michigan State coaching contracts. Like, do you understand what the orange stick on the sideline means? It's pretty consequential at times during a football game. Has that come up at any point during film review that, hey, on 3rd down, you're going to want to be on the other side of the orange thing? That's a pretty important part of football.
Now, the one other thing I'll mention is with the going back to Bryce Underwood, he completed like 2 of 4 passes on 3rd down, only converted 1 pass on 3rd down. So that's another issue for Michigan as we continue to see, like, the 3rd and longs do not treat them well. The 3rd and mediums don't treat them well either. So if you can stop them, slow them down on 1st down, that makes your life a whole lot easier. And now doing that, of course, is the tougher thing. But overall, I thought I just had to jump in on the Nick Marsh thing because I've never seen that before. Not 3 times.
Yeah. That was you. Life rarely gives you a second chance. It did, and yet that wasn't enough somehow. Yeah, that was a real, like, man, oh man. That was probably right around the time that I was like, this is the Egg Bowl. It was one of those right around there. It was like, oh, just the worst. You talked about the running game briefly. I'm still seeing a gap between Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall in terms of running the ball. Like I know Jordan Marshall ended up with some superficially pretty strong stats. He had the one long run right at the end of the game for that last touchdown. Outside of that, it was 3.6 yards per carry for him. And Justice Haynes, 5.8 yards per carry on the game with a long of 28, had a couple touchdowns, just really like walk-in touchdowns. So he really had, if he's out there and he's good, I was surprised to see him out there. Based on the hit that he took at USC, I thought this looked like ribs or some kind of abdominal, something that's probably going to keep him out a while. So I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see him back out there. With him out there, they are one kind of offense. Without him out there, they're kind of another. At home, they are one kind of offense. Without him, we're going to do like Punnett squares here, where Michigan at home with Justice Haynes is like a potentially pretty good offense. Michigan on the road without Justice Haynes is potentially a terrible offense. It's just one of those things where you see a big difference between guys. One other thing is Max Bredesen. How many times have we heard watch 44 and he'll show you where the play is going?
Yeah.
Like when they're talking about that on TV as often as they do and as often as they have this season, I keep thinking, man, oh man, that's going to change at some point. When Michigan needs a really big play, it's going to be Max Bredesen is going a completely different direction. He's going to get used to set some stuff up later in the year. We should talk a little bit about Jimmy Rolder and Derek Moore is another guy who had a good game on the defensive side of the ball. Let's hit Moore real quick before we get to Rolder, because Rolder will be a longer conversation. He had really 3 sacks on the game. One got negated by a defensive holding call. One was one play before that. And then one, they got an intentional grounding call on what should have been a sack that really killed a drive right before halftime. We saw TJ Guy for the first time in what felt like months, but this was a real Derek Moore game. And then you didn't see or hear from Jayshon Barham at all. I mean, it was like the only time you saw him was when he did something stupid at the end of the game, because this rivalry will turn everyone into Spartino, and just grabbed the quarterback and like threw him down for like well after the ball was out. It just a dumb play and cost him 15 yards.
I was watching this game live and hadn't seen anything from Jayshon Barham. So I did a Twitter search of him to see is he not playing? Is he being held out randomly? Happens. And it's like, no, he was actually out there, but didn't do much. Had just the one tackle. But yeah, last week was the first time Derek Moore had done something in a while. And now it's 2 weeks in a row. And he pretty much just cleaned up at the end. I'm not sure how many of those sacks were against the backup, but clearly he seems to be getting back into the swing of thing. And yeah, and TJ Guy, we've not seen much of him because he's been giving up most of his snacks and snaps to Barham seemingly. So good to see him out there. A lot of times, I don't know if it's a lot, but when I see him out there, a lot of times he's just dropping back into coverage. So good luck getting a sack that way. Mm-hmm. But overall, those guys did well. And then, yeah, this is the best game for Jimmy Rolder, I think, that we've seen. 10 tackles, 9 solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. This is coming off of an interception last week. I know he's been a punching bag of Michigan fans for much of this season, but he stepped up, and it may be really key for him to do so. I don't know. Did Cole Sullivan come back in after he got hurt? So
I don't think so, no.
That's a concern. I don't know what, we're recording this on Sunday. We're not sure what Sharon Moore is going to say on Monday about him.
He's not going to say anything about him on Monday. That's Sharon Moore. He's going to wear his work shirt, and he's not going to address injuries directly. What are you, new here?
Sorry, my apologies.
But Rolder, beyond just the stats, he had a couple. He had to stop on 2 separate 4th down plays.
Big time.
One where he had a PBU on a throw to the tight end on 4th and 3 early in the 4th quarter. That was kind of the one where it was like, well, okay, this is probably just about over. And then there was one at the end of the game where Michigan's defense wasn't even set. It was 4th and 1. Michigan State is running hurry up, and Rolder just literally single-handedly blows the play up. Michigan's defense isn't set on a 4th and 1. That's one where you get blown back 4 yards, and it's just the easiest conversion of all time. And Rolder single-handedly stopped it. So yeah, he had one of those games where it was not quite as high profile as the JT Tuimoloau Penn State game where he had a couple interceptions and a touchdown and whatever else it was. But it was I think he had a forced fumble in that game too. But it was very much the same where it was like the whole game they're just talking about Jimmy Rolder, and it wasn't, this wasn't like, when they are talking about the dad of whoever and they're showing this parent in the stands and it's like, stop talking, no one cares. Like this was like relevant that you're talking about the same guy all game. So that was big. It was a huge game for him. I do still, this is something we've talked about earlier, and I talked earlier about like sort of this game being a confirming your priors thing. I continue to have questions about the tackling in the Michigan secondary. They have had Brandon Hillman and Zeke Berry both missed tackles on that first long run by Frazier. There was another one later where I think it was Frazier again, had another big one where it was like there were a couple guys who could have gotten him down and didn't. That's, and it's very easy to look at this as, well, Ohio State doesn't run the ball very well, so this won't apply to them. And I think we should wrap this up with how much do we take away from the Ohio State game from this game? Because I think the answer is not very much, because I don't think there's a lot of overlap between Michigan State and Ohio State this year in terms of what they do and who they have. But when I look at secondaries having trouble getting guys to the ground, that doesn't just apply to running backs. That applies to wide receivers and tight ends and quarterbacks as well. And that to me is just a little bit of a red flag in the back of that defense, because this is normally a very, very fundamentally sound Michigan defense. And, as we said earlier, should have had a couple pass interference calls, a bunch of missed tackles. It just, the back seven, as Jimmy Rolder accepted, Jimmy Rolder gets a gold star for this game. Everyone else kind of like, I have some concerns about the back end of that Michigan defense, and it's not going to show up until later, past Thanksgiving. We'll see who Michigan's playing past Thanksgiving. We know one game, and we'll see what happens after that. But when you're playing a better passing attack, which they won't for a month now, but when you're playing a better passing attack or a more explosive offense, that's the kind of stuff that can show up at a bad moment.
Yeah, and you look at Mekhi Frazier, he finished with 109 yards rushing on 14 attempts. 84 of those yards came on 3 explosive plays. So, but the tackling part, is this 2 weeks in a row now we've seen like just a running back weave through the Michigan defense trying to
that might have been a couple weeks ago, because that was USC. So that was a couple games back.
Right, yeah. So it's popping up, maybe only on the road. But
well, Brandon Hillman didn't play last week.
And Rod Moore was out this week again.
Yeah.
But like we talk about all of these different safeties, they will mix and match and they'll rotate. And I don't know, what is their best grouping. I thought TJ Metcalf had a decent day at safety, but yeah, Jair Hill got beat again deep. Like that's a weekly occurrence. Another weekly occurrence. The last 2 games, Jair Hill on the first drive has dropped a pick 6. Like that's 2 games in a row. Like they are trying to give you the ball. So just keep that in mind if you're an Ohio State fan. And as we discussed that, because a lot of these things have a way of popping back up. But yeah, you got to catch the ones that are thrown to you. And I'll say it every week. I'll harp on it, and people will just be like, "Shut up!" Like if you give Julian Sand time, I'm pretty sure he's going to throw on these guys, provided that the weather cooperates. And I think I don't know if there's anybody left on the Michigan schedule that can kind of do that, but that's more of the talent in the schedule rather than what Michigan would be able to do against them. Because you look at what they've got next. Purdue, I don't know. Northwestern, doubt it. Maryland, freshman quarterback, I assume he might still be starting by that point. Like, there's no reason to expect anything other than what we've seen the last 2 weeks from the next 3 weeks for Michigan. It's just going to be sluggish and maybe some ups and downs from the passing game, and then run the ball enough and boom, home run, and maybe 2 home runs, and then that's the end of the game. One issue that I had, finishing up my notes here, Justice Haynes did lose a fumble in this one, so that's he's not a fumbler at this point, but just something to keep in mind. Sharon Moore at the end of the first half choosing not to throw a Hail Mary when he's been the victim of a Hail Mary, having seen it work. I don't know if it's because he doesn't think his quarterback can throw the ball 55 yards or 60 yards, but I get annoyed at that when all coaches do that, when they just like, let's just go to the half. We've got a comfortable lead, and I think it was, 7 or 3 points, whatever it was. And then Jordan Marshall, last 3 games, 103.7 yards rushing per game. So they're getting something out of him. And before while Justice Haynes was gone, and then also while he's still there. So that's That's what I have. Other than my last note, special teams are an adventure.
I know I don't want to pile on Samaj Morgan, but like walk me through the thought process of you're on the 5-yard line and I'm going to turn around and I'm going to Willie Mays basket catch this fair catch. They spotted it at 5. I think he caught it at about the 3.5, but they gave him the 5. But even if he caught it at the 5, the coverage team isn't there. Like walk me through the thought process. I'm going to catch this punt at the 5. The worst case scenario is it bounces, it goes straight up in the air, hangs there long enough that the coverage team, which is still way down the field, can get down there, and you lose 2 yards of field position. Like that's the worst case scenario. 90% of the time, that ball's going to go in the end zone because it's on the fly. You have to catch it closer than the 5. The decision making is just, again, this is the whole game. The whole game was me just going like, why did you do that? And not just for like one player, not just for one team, just like, whoa, not just for the players, coaches too. Like, why did you do that? I don't understand. But I look at this game in terms of like, I'm trying to decide. Wink Martindale's not blitzing. He's just kind of rushing for like, what does this tell me about what he's going to do for Ohio State? I don't know that it tells me anything because this is the Michigan State team is, personnel wise, obviously not in the same dimension as Ohio State is, but also in terms of like the quarterback position. They put up these quarterback graphics and it's, I'm sure, supposed to get everyone all hyped up. And it was just like my eyes, the goggles do nothing. Just, I think at one point, Aiden Childs was like 4 of 12 for 28 yards. And it was like basically halftime. What am I supposed to take away from the Michigan defense against a guy who's completing 33% of his passes for 28 yards and a half of football? I'm sorry. I'm not overwhelmed with hashtag takes coming out of that one.
Well, maybe then the shows that we do the next 3 weeks against Purdue, Northwestern, and Maryland will be more relatable to how things will go against Ohio State.
Yeah. So that's kind of the interesting thing is I feel like we have a decent sense for what Michigan is right now. I don't think we're going to have any better idea in terms of, well, they're improving here, or boy, Bryce Underwood has gotten a lot better here, or Justice Haynes is now even more 100% than he is. I don't think he was probably 100% for that game. I don't know that I'm going to have any kind of takeaways from stuff moving forward. Is the tackling better in the secondary? I don't know. You're playing a bunch of garbage teams. So with what are we going to learn? It's going to be very interesting. We're going to walk into that stadium on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and it's like, well, I'm interested to see. We've watched every snap of every game. I'm interested to see what this looks like because I have no idea because they're not going to be tested over the next month, so they're not going to show anything over the next month. And so, how much are they going to improve? But please keep watching the show every week.
And what Ohio State will we see? Good question. So yeah, go ahead, Tom.
No, the next couple weeks of Ohio State, after Penn State, there is not a game where you have a real talent equated situation for Ohio State either. So it is going to be Ohio State will get through. They'll get through the Penn State game and they'll be okay. But after that, it's sorry, we'll save that for the bold prediction show that Ohio State will probably get through the Penn State game okay. But after that, it is just 3 weeks of well, we'll see. Not a lot of lessons to be learned from either team through the course of November. So that'll be the count. I think the countdown to Michigan. I do a literal countdown to Michigan on the other show. So the countdown to Michigan really it basically turns into Michigan week and Ohio State week for these two teams pretty soon if it hasn't already.
And we are going to talk about that game a lot and probably have to talk about it a lot leading up to it. But I'm saying right now, it sure looks like that is going to be an opportunity for Ohio State to knock Michigan out of the playoffs. And it's something else to look forward to if you're Ohio State. And if you want a little bit of semblance of a revenge thing is 1, win it. And then 2, again, send Michigan to Tampa or whatever that bowl would be, Orlando, who knows? I don't even know anymore.
But Michigan very easily, we had a group text trying to figure out the Big Ten tiebreakers, and then I think everyone just sort of threw their hands up and said, I don't know, we'll see. that could very easily be a Michigan knocks Ohio State out of the Big Ten championship game as well. Like this is a game where you're not going to ruin each other's seasons necessarily, but it is a game where you could really change someone's travel plans for the month of December and January. Whoever loses that game, because I think both teams at this point are going in with the same number of losses they have right now, and with a college football playoff berth, for the winner certainly, and if Michigan wins, probably for the loser as well.
And they say the rivalry is dead, and it doesn't matter anymore. And we're here talking about all of these different scenarios outside of just winning the game. So there you go. Didn't expect to talk about Michigan and Michigan State that much because, frankly, it did not warrant it. But we're here for you guys. We do appreciate you. If you could hit the thumbs up on this, if you're watching on YouTube, 5-star rating and review is always appreciated as well on your podcast platform of choice. And as always, you can continue to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.